If all animals were horse-sized, which would be the most majestic to ride into battle? If you've ever seen a dragonfly zigzagging through the air, it's not doing so at random. At every point of the zigzag, it was targeting prey, and at tilde 90%, they have the highest success rate of all hunting animals. Most like lions, cheetahs, etc. average tilde 10%. Dragonflies are also the only animal, other than properly trained humans, to intercept their targets, that is, estimate where their target will be and preemptively go there, rather than merely chase by following. A horse-sized dragonfly would be insanely powerful as a mount. Perhaps they can do that precisely because they are very small. If they were bigger, they would turn slower. Also, their wings would flap much slower. Flap frequency strongly depends on size, but mostly, the dragonfly would die quickly because their body would be too thick to allow oxygen to diffuse to their vital organs. That's why insects are always small, by the way, because of their way of breathing. They used to be larger before dinosaurs, when oxygen was more abundant and was less of a problem to them. Oh my! Castrum is mainly produced for perfumery. It has a strong animalic, warm and sweet smell, with leathery nuances, and is mainly used in leather, animalic and chypre perfumes. Besides perfumery, castrum is used in flavoring tobacco, and in beekeeping to increase the honey production, from Fragrantica.com. My dad lives in East Texas and he got attack geese to keep the coyotes and wild dogs away. He said it worked well for people too because if the geese didn't attack, people would slip on all the goose shit on the walkway which signaled the geese to attack before the person could get to the door. Yeah, but 99% of the castles/chateaux in France are basically manors, which is a more accurate definition of chateau despite the translation being castle. It's all very confusing. You have chateau equals manor, manor equals country house, fortress equals castle. Whenever I look at chateaux in France it's like mansions. I'm talking full unadulterated castle, like Arundel Castle in West Sussex or Devizes Castle in Wiltshire. If the Queen was willing to sell Windsor Castle in Berkshire would be mine, the more fortress-like the better. That isn't the whole picture. The Chateaux de la Loire are legit castles. You could fit several manors in them. There are really three types of chateau. One is the fortress type, designed to withstand sieges, with much cupolas and those narrow windows to shoot arrows from. Those tend to be older, 10th-14th century, and rather plain in appearance and construction with thick cast stone walls strong enough to stand up to trebuchets or cannons. Those are chateaux or fortresses. They don't have fancy grounds on the outside, they're more like rings with the living quarters facing in. One is the small nobility luxury residence, with dozens of rooms, huge grounds, lavish architecture, etc. Those are chateaux. Then there's the massive ultra-luxe king-type chateau like Versailles or the Trianon and a few others, hundreds of rooms, acres of fancy gardens, etc. Those are chateaux or more commonly palais. Cf. Palace. Versailles is called Château de Versailles or Palais de Versailles almost interchangeably, with a preference for chateau when you're referring to the building or the place and palais when you're thinking more about the inside, luxury, function, etc. I always wanted to describe the direction to my house as, drive down the local road, then you will see a small gravel drive with a mailbox. Turn onto that drive and go about 6 miles and you will be at my house in the center of my property. That would be greatly improved with, when you see the castle you are in the right place. I want to be rich enough to afford a house like that, but I want to fill it up. I have family in other countries. As they all get older I'd like to have like a personal nursing home for them, my parents, aunts, uncles, all living together as they get older. They all have separate wings so they can have their privacy, but are all close so that they are never alone. I'd also hire a cleaning crew and a couple of nurses to help as they got even older. This is close to my dream. I'd like to have 10-15 acres of land where I can build a family compound over time, a main house for my immediate family that I could build an addition on, and a guest house or two for extended family. The remainder of the land would be a workshop, a large garden, a chicken coop, and lots of trees. I feel the same way with friends. If I came into stupid money, I would just buy some property somewhere and start building houses, then play Oprah. You get a house, and you get a house. I figure the best thing I can give my friends is stress-free housing. I'd also build a nice community building in the middle so we can do communal meals or cookouts whenever, have some nice big tables for board game nights, etc., and a great internet connection shall be had by all. That's what my parents were going to do with the house we had. 2 years later parents divorced, and a year later it was me and my dad on a big property with a completely empty house. And he traveled weekly, so it was just me half the time. I wish it turned out how my mom thought it would. There's a town in Romania called Busco where the locals struck it rich selling scrap metal, of all things, and lined the main street with gigantic mansions. Article with pictures. According to Steliana, another wealthy Roma, most of these Roma live in one room of their mansions because they cannot afford to heat the whole place. We have to show that we have money. That's it, Steliana told Al Jazeera. A wealthy friend of mine signed up to an independent designer box. He had it for a year and received the same 3 chopping boards among some hits and misses. He cancelled his subscription when he received a porcelain dog stapler that had "Made in China" on the bottom. It was so tacky and impractical. He hated, and I absolutely loved it. I left it in my old office as a gift for whoever replaced me. I actually really love Stitch Fix. I tend to buy stuff that doesn't fit me, and just generally don't know how to dress. My style is a graphic t-shirt and jeans. At one point that's literally the only clothes I had, so it's kind of been a blessing to have someone pick out stuff that fits and actually looks like something an adult would wear. There have definitely been some misses, but I've given lots of feedback, no prints, and I've gotten some great stuff. Placeholder so I can come back to this. I did the math on this for a different post a few months ago. I'm just gonna copy and paste it. So, while gold is technically rare, there isn't any going to waste, so we aren't running out of it. We've mined most of the gold around already, but it just gets melted and sold again or sold as antiques. Also, gold is incredibly malleable, and is able to hold its form while incredibly thin. That sheet of gold is probably around 0.1 microns thick. For reference, a sheet of paper is around 100 microns thick. While gold leaf can vary in thickness depending on its use, for ease of calculations let's assume each sheet is 0.1 microns thick. Lengthwise, let's say each square is 10 centimeters long, about 3 inches. Assuming it's 24K gold, the volume of 1 gram is 0.052 cubic centimeters. Therefore a gram of gold pressed to fit a 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters mold would be 0.052 centimeters thick. In microns, that would be 5.2. If each sheet is 0.1 microns thick, that means you would get 52 sheets from 1 gram of gold. According to Google, right now 1 gram of gold is about $58 US. That means each sheet is about 90 cents worth of gold. Now, most gold leaf is not 10 by 10 cm. For baking, it's sold in much smaller sheets, around 3 by 3 cm. So the 10-pack of gold leaf on Amazon for $9 probably only contains about $1 worth of gold by weight. Side note, I remember doing this math, and it feels like it was just a few weeks ago, when actually it was like 7 months ago. Why do brains do this? My wife's parents said fuck it and bought a warranty extension for their fridge. A failure in the model became well known later that resulted in a massive amount of water spillage. The problem happened to my in-laws and destroyed thousands and thousands of dollars of hardwood floors. The warranty ended up covering the fridge replacement and the incidental damage associated. I'm unironically sick to death of the joke of I'll give awards to the person complaining about awards. That's certainly original and funny. I wholeheartedly refuse to spend a single cent on the most useless possible thing. Edit. To all the ones that awarded me, fuck you. My parents used to go with my grandfather to the parade of homes every year. Since my grandfather knew seemingly everyone within the home building and development industries, my mom to this day talks about how annoying it was that, while touring these new homes, my grandfather would point out things like skylights as being impossible to clean correctly, or unusual light fixtures as being tedious to dust or change bulbs on, or any of a number of things that might look striking but served little function. Apparently after my grandfather died, my parents went to the parade the next year ... and my dad took the mantle of pointing out these types of details. New houses tend to be designed to sell rather than live in. I believe this trend is epitomized by the towel rod in the master bathroom in my house. This rod is mounted about 7 above finished floor, above a countertop. The structure that the countertop is sitting on is a half wall, which the bathtub butts against. If I wanted to keep my towel there, I would have to climb wet and naked over the edge of the tub, and on top of the countertop to get to it. The contractor working on the reno of my brother's house has a thing about how all outlets should be hidden from view. He asks them where they're going to put the furniture, some of which they don't yet own, so that he can put the outlets behind it. I do a lot of reno work, so they, thinking that was absurd, asked me if that was normal as I expected. He doesn't do a lot of already purchased homes. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to have to reach behind your furniture every time you wanted to plug something in? Not to mention the fire hazard. Oi. Houses should be comfortable and home-like. No use of having some branded sofa if you can't sit and cry on it while getting chips everywhere on the bad nights. And actually that's how I see being wealthy. Having the minimum necessities of life as well as the few extra, simple luxuries without being guilty for having them. Edit. Usually don't edit and tell, but I see I got an award. Thanks for that to the person who gave it to me. I wanted to know, what does one do with it? As in, does Reddit give you anything in exchange for a kind stranger's money? My friend had a neighbor who had a second living room set up with white everything. No one was allowed to step into that room. All I could think is, what's the point of having all that in there if you can't use it? That mentality is also why my home doesn't have decorative towels in the bathroom. You know, my mom had a room like that, but now that I'm older I kind of get it. She was an immigrant that worked 3 jobs and it made her happy to finally have those pieces of furniture. I also love those really fancy handmade ceramic flatware that's become really popular, and I'm just about stable enough and financially able to afford them, but also thinking about having my first kid, so I just keep thinking about that one room I wasn't allowed in. It's for me to enjoy, and yeah, maybe I won't let my kid use the nice plates for a while. Worked for a cleaning company. One house we cleaned was immaculate. All we did was vacuum up the footprints from guys that came to check on the place, water plants, etc. House belonged to stinky rich people. They pretended to live here when they entertained fancy people. The home they actually lived in was disgusting, according to my boss. Apparently this is pretty common. Call around and ask for quotes. You'll need your house square feet number. They'll also need to know whether house is cluttered or not. Pro tips: don't try to make your house cleaner beforehand. Mop, dust, etc. We know when your stuff gets in our way. Less clutter equals easier for us to clean equals charge less. Put things away. Rather than trying to mop or dust, put items in drawers, cabinets, closets, etc. for a day. The less clutter there is, the easier it is for us to deep clean. Yes, we can clean up the but A, we will charge more. B. Less time spent getting it deep cleaned. Source: former maid. If I was ever rich enough to hire maids, I'd get storage boxes and really get stuff put away to the point it looks like a display home. This means I'd get my money's worth. TL doctor. Don't try to dust or mop, rather put away clutter if you want it to be cheaper. I own a cleaning service business in NY. Prices will depend greatly on your location and size of your home, beds, baths, SQFT, then any extras you might want to add on, fridge, oven, windows, etc. If you happen to be in NY, Long Island, I can set you up with that Reddit discount to try the service out. It's basically what Jay Leno does. You'll see him riding around in one of his old cars in LA. He keeps them nice and clean in a warehouse but actually uses them. There was a picture of a McLaren on some subreddit and most of the comments were about how nice it is to see it a little dirty and actually being driven around instead of packed away in a garage somewhere. That's what I worried about when I was younger. Then when I was graduating college I found a girl that I thought liked me, before I got rich. In hindsight, the fact that she was leaving a guy more than twice her age to date me who had nothing going for him besides money should have been a hint that she had issues. That said, if you actually analyze your relationship closely there are always going to be hints. Birkin or Kelly bag from Hermes. I like the brand, and own some scarves and jewelry. But being on a wait list and having to buy a number of other items while trying to curry favor with a sales associate and earn the opportunity to spend 15,000 plus on a handbag, NFW, I don't even like either style regardless of the surrounding nonsense. Never understood why anyone would fucking bother. The resale on them is insane. Even if you just keep it in a closet and never use it, chances are it will appreciate. Especially if it's a limited run or special edition. We're taking hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's actually a real problem for luxury brands and models like the Birkin because Hermes is only capturing a fraction of the value from the first sale. https://www.wallstreetjournal.com/articles/got a Birkin bag to sell. That's a problem for Hermes. 11,582,885,805. My wife did an internship with a very wealthy woman in Paris. Apparently, one of the ways to show off wealth is to undo the first sleeve button on your sports jacket, because cheap jackets only have decorative buttons, but the really expensive ones have functional buttons. Edit, and apparently handcrafted. Wooden buttons are also a telltale sign. It's a subtle thing that lets the wealthy know that you're one of them. Apparently there's all sorts of these things and they all act as an unspoken code that the rich can use to identify their equals. Edit. Lots of people have asked, but I don't know any others. The only reason my wife found this particular one out was because she splurged and got a nice sports jacket to wear to an event. Her boss, a total snob, told her to unbutton one of the buttons so people would know it was nice. My wife asked her if that was a thing and the boss explained it was, and that there were lots of little things like that, but she didn't share any others. I would also love to know what the other tells are, but alas. Often what you're paying for is a cut and fit that is more carefully designed to a human body, and also better materials, better craftsmanship than mass production. The real game changer is tailoring though. The reason celebrities and rich people always look more put together than the average Joe is largely because everything they're wearing has been tailored to their measurements, from casual t-shirts, jeans and flannel shirts up through tuxes and ball gowns. My grandparents had one they bought in the 1970s. It's a 6-story private little hotel right on the beach. I guess back then, it was better to do timeshares instead of needing a travel agent to arrange everything for you, which makes sense if you want to vacation in the same place all the time to go golfing, but I will not be taking over the timeshare. Back in the day your travel agent was putting in hours. They were calling people to talk to them in person, negotiating favors, etc. If you knew you wanted to go to Florida and didn't care if you missed the most popular times, a timeshare was actually not a bad deal. These days, there's multiple competing websites for you to do all that yourself in minutes. I love renting lakeside Airbnbs during storm season for like 1/10th of the summer price and just watching the waves roll while sipping cocoa inside. Shit rules. A man asks the bartender where the bathroom is. First door on the left, he says. The man is so drunk he takes the door on the right instead. He sees before him a beautiful golden toilet. He does his business and goes home. He returns the next day and asks the bartender about the golden toilet. The barman then exclaimed, "Oh, you must be the asshole who shit in my tuba."